So today we're here to talk about self-employed mortgages and the kind of myth that they're harder to get for people who are self-employed. It isn't the case, so we just thought today we would actually discuss this between the four of us so that we can kind of bust some of them myths that are out there. So you've got myself here, which is Julie Gilbert, owner of First Mortgage Services. We've got Pam Atkinson, mortgage advisor. We've got Lindsay Stones, mortgage advisor, and Will Shackleton, mortgage advisor. So what should we start with in terms of why the self-employed think that it is harder to get a mortgage? What do you think, Pam?
I think it's just a myth because people say, no, you need all these years books and stuff like that. I think it's just people like to talk and people take advice from people that they probably shouldn't be taking advice to. A lot of the self-employed going back years, they would need 3 years books. Yeah. Whereas now you've got lenders like Halifax who only want 1 year's books. So I think it's people going back to what it used to be and then talking to mum and dad and talking to people who got it back in the day. I think a lot of it's just word of mouth that just hasn't been, they've not gone to brokers to actually see what they can do because they automatically think I can't do it because I haven't got 3 years books.
Yeah, exactly. And what do you think, Lindsay? I mean, obviously we've all been in the game for quite a while, but it has changed massively, and I think since COVID it's gone very much into a case by case basis. So the joys of using the brokers, we get all the information in first, assess it, and then look at which lender's right for the client, don't we?
Yeah. I think people can get very confused about what sort of paperwork they actually need.
Yeah.
And most of the lenders these days, they don't want even accounts.
Yes.
They just want the HMRC tax confirmation of what the earnings have been for the last year or 2 years, etc. And it really is very much simplified from what it was, several years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're literally just looking at actually what have you earned. So even if somebody is actually earning from self-employed from over different businesses, that one document actually just shows what your income was for that year.
Yeah, it does.
And it's so much easier. So there's not reams and reams and reams of paperwork that you actually need.
No, exactly. And I think what I find, we work with a lot of accountants, don't we, for our clients, and we're a bit of a battle with them sometimes because obviously they're there to make people pay as little tax as possible in the right way. We're there to say if you need lending, then you need to make a profit, you need to show a net income and show that the income's coming in. And so we tend to work with them quite a lot because we're asking for those documents, because sometimes clients don't know what a tax calculation is. What is a tax calculation?
Well, I suppose there's two types, isn't there? You can get the one that's right at the end of your tax return, which is the actual calculation, but the typical one that we need to get is an SA 302 that the top would say 100%. It basically says what all the income that you've had throughout the course of that year, what tax has been deducted and then what tax you owe. And there's another document which is like the most simplest looking thing that we need, that most people can look at it, well, why on earth do you need that? The tax overview, which confirms whether the tax has been taken or not, doesn't it?
Well, it just confirms it's been paid, doesn't it? And also I just don't think clients actually know that document exists. People sometimes they'll send you the tax calculation, but then they're missing the tax overview, don't they?
Yes.
And so what I say to a lot of clients is, give us what documents you have, so accounts, the tax overviews, the tax calculations. Let us do our job properly and assess what the right way around of lending is, especially if they're wanting the maximum that cost we can get.
And then the other option you've got as well is which clients don't know about, because I always ask for a limited company, I always ask for the accounts and the SA 302s, because you can sometimes on your net profit, your retained profit is more than your dividends, so you can actually possibly get more lending based on that kind of thing. So it's just us doing our job but getting all the information first for the client.
Yeah, it's definitely, because the one thing that you do need to know is that if you're a limited company director, lenders will treat you differently to just a sole trader. They can use lots of different income that you receive, because you're obviously paid in dividends, you're paid in salary, but as Pam's just said there, if that is only a smaller amount because you're retaining the profit in the company, we've got lenders that will look at retained profit, and it's just, you might think that's complicated, but it's not if we can then present to you a solution that says, here, this is the amount that you can lend, this is what it costs, and this is what it all looks like. And then it takes that worry away from you thinking this is really complicated, because for us it's every day, isn't it, that we deal with people like that. Definitely.
Yeah.
And is there any kind of advice that you think that you could actually give a client who's maybe thinking of going self-employed but are worried about their mortgage?
I would say engage with an accountant fairly early doors and discuss what you plan on doing, how you plan on doing it, and then plan for income going forward.
Yeah.
I would say getting a really good accountant is probably really key.
It's really
key
important.
first step.
And I think also make sure your accountant knows what the situation is, knows that you do need lending. Tell them that you might want to move up the ladder, down the ladder, whatever, in a couple of years, so that the accountant can also work with you in that, because if they don't know, they can't.
Well, the accountant, as you said before, is actually trying to obviously look at somebody paying perhaps as little tax as possible.
Yeah.
So actually, sort of offsetting goodness knows what from the the allowances, etc. And it doesn't work in your favour sometimes if you're wanting to get a mortgage.
No.
So that's why it's important to tell the accountant what your plans are, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think it's just planning for the future. You plan to set up the business, you plan to hopefully do really well with the business. It's making sure that you're looking after your own personal finances as well as the business at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in these days where mortgage interest rates are coming down. It may be that your existing lender isn't the cheapest, so you want the cheapest, don't you? So you want the ability to move lenders, and that's the time that when you are coming to the end of your deal, yes, you've got your existing lender that probably won't do any checks on income or even credit checks, but if you want to get the cheapest deal, they will do, because they need to look at all of those documents again, so you need to make sure that all of the figures are looking marvellous at that point.
Yeah. And the good thing about it is when it comes to something like that, clients don't mind providing you with all that information, because the first thing you're going to say to them is, if you're with a current lender, we have to compare that lender when moving forward, so we give you the bigger picture, because we can't justify moving you
unless it's
worth your while financially.
Yeah,
so it is. It's just explaining to I think self-employed people, they need a lot more hand-holding as well a lot of the time, because they get confuzzled, for want of a better word, because they know what's coming in and know what's going out, but they don't understand the whole thing. Just give it to the accountant.
There's so many more working parts with them, isn't there? Whereas an employed person gets the pay slip and goes, that's what I've got, and I know what's coming in my bank account every month. But like we've said, that there can be so much more complexities for affordability that we can look at. They're better focused on running the business and doing that, and they'll just say, right, accountant, do whatever I need to do to make this look as good as possible, but also as less financially harming to me.
I think as you say, they can get on with running their own business, whereas the accountant and us, we're just telling that client, right, we need this, and the accountant, tell your accountant, if the accountant wants to contact us, blah blah blah, we can do all of that and take the burden off you, basically. And I think that's why it's quite good for self-employed people. But I think self-employed people that do need a broker, I don't think they get too confused on their own trying to do stuff like that. And I've come across it over the years, whereas they need the broker there to actually know what they're talking about and get them to the best place they want to be at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you go directly to a lender, which is absolutely fine, but you're just then using that lender's criteria.
Yes.
And and when you actually when you've got the range of lenders that you can look at, then it's about maximising the income that somebody can borrow, particularly if the profit or the earnings have been reduced to for tax reasons. Then it's about maximising, isn't it, and finding that lender, selecting that lender to tailor make it to our client.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's where we all shine. We shine with first time buyers, don't we, because again you're always helping them and you're letting them through different scenarios, and then certainly with self-employed and limited company directors, it's nice to be able to give advice and actually see clients to the end goal, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it is.
So I really hope that that's been helpful for you today, and if you have any kind of worries or concerns about buying a property, remortgaging, moving to a different product, and you actually need some guidance and advice, then of course do get hold of us. All our details are on our website. Thank you.